There we go.
All right. New series of quickfire demos that I'm starting today. And what I want to do is just find, there's always this discussion around what's AI actually doing in practice. And everyone's always asking for examples and companies that are actually using it in production. So that's what I want to do is find a few companies that are using some exciting technology and do quick demos and have a quick conversation around it. So you guys are number one in the series. We'll see how far it goes. Can you give me a quick intro, who you are and what you're building?
Yeah, thanks for having us on. And honored to be the first one in the series. So we are the co-founders of IWander. I'm Marius.
And I'm Antoine.
So we're brothers based out of London, and we built IWander, which is your own basically it's an AI personal travel companion. So think of it almost like your own personal tour guide in your pocket, which builds you walking tours on the fly and gives you recommendations on what to see, what to do, and what to eat once you're in destination.
Excellent. Space that I love and I talk about a lot, and we've talked about it a lot. So let's jump in and see how it works. I'm hoping it's live at this point and it can actually give us a live demo.
Yeah, for sure. So we launched on the app stores today. So great moment,
Excellent.
timely.
Excellent.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
I can, yeah.
All right, great. So what we've got here, we've got the iWander app. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and just open it. So what you can see, it's a map-based product. So the moment you open it up, it basically pans into your location, and you can see all sorts of these different like points of interest around you. So what we've basically built like a curated point of interest database all around the world, spanning about 6.5 million points of interest, which we've kind of meta curated. So basically like highlighting what's interesting around you. So the starting point is, I mean, we can just start by exploring the neighborhood. Right here, we're in our office in Spitalfields. You can just start exploring. So press this button, start exploring. And this will basically launch like the guide mode. So it will start basically so we'll hear it. So it's audio first.
A corner of London that has reinvented itself a dozen times over. Long before the modern glass offices, this was a place of refuge.
So you can see it basically like just gives you a quick intro on where you are, a bit of information about what you can see around you. But where the magic really starts to happen is this build the walk. So what it will do, it will offer you a couple of different options for a walking tour around you right now. So either show me the best of the area, or it's gone and found these like 4 curated tours. So basically building you a Jack the Ripper tour on the fly, speaking about the Huguenot silk weavers, like the market, or a little bit more about like, the Jewish East End and the immigration of the history of immigration in the area. So what we can do now, we can either like kind of actually like go ahead and build one of these tours, but what I always find quite interesting is showing like how it kind of works anywhere in the world. So Christian, why don't you kind of like give us, let us know where you would like a walking tour built of somewhere around the world?
Are you gonna laugh if I say Moldova? Is that gonna make your thing fail?
No, we can do Moldova,
Chisinau, Chisinau, Moldova. Because I'm going there
well,
next week.
you're gonna have to
Spelling.
help me with the
I'm,
spelling there.
I'm hoping the autocomplete's going to help us all here. Chisinaau.
Okay, walking tour. And do you want anything like kind of like in specific, just kind of like a walking tour of that area
Yeah,
or
so Soviet history.
Soviet history?
It's a good
So
test. If you can do Moldova, then I'm confident you can do most places.
We had a few requests come in already from Armenia today, so I've got hope.
Nice. The ones you showed me there at the start are those sort of pre-recorded? Is this all on the fly? How's it working as far as what's preset and what's created on the fly?
It's basically all on the fly. We have already a list of about 100 curated tours. So these like expert tours created across a variety of different destinations. But what we showed you there is an AI walking tour. So that's created on the fly based off what we know about you, what's interesting about the area, etc.
And the preset ones you had there, the Jack the Ripper, is that sort of pre-curated or is that also on the fly?
That's also on the fly.
Oh,
That's
okay.
also on the fly. So we kind of find the best themes or the most interesting things around that area, and then basically surface that as a potential walking tour theme.
Excellent. And can you just walk through what it's doing right now?
So here, what it's doing is it is scanning the point of interest database that we have. So trying to find some interesting places in Moldova. But also because we've kind of given it a theme, a lot of the time what it will do is it will go and do maybe some research, so some web-based research on some of the more interesting places in that area, just so that we don't kind of miss them or anything like that.
And a
Right.
big part of what we do as well is this narrative engine. So what we've really focused on is like what makes a great story. And so like, you know, every story which has a beginning, a middle, an end, narrative arc. So it's not just basically like a bunch of different POIs with no like real thread between them. Here, what we'll really do is like build a story around these like 10 points of interest or 10 points, which you can see here.
That's great. Yeah, which is the part that I think I used to run the hop on hop off, and the intuitive thing is just do 20 stops and just do 20 informational points without the story. Then you kind of find out what you're doing, and everyone says it's all about the story making. So this is
Yeah.
taking a look at the whole lot, and it's building me. It's built me a flow through the whole lot with the theme.
Exactly. And I think that's a big thing of why we try and push those 4 themes, for example, at the start around the area, is because a lot of the time, like the AI walking tour offers, or even like, you know, when you create a walking tour with ChatGPT suggestion, a lot of the time it is kind of just like jumping from one place to one place without actually like exploring the area, you know, learning anything about the area. So I think that's kind of like one of the core theses that we're trying to solve as well, is actually uncovering a destination.
Yeah, that's great. So this is ready now for me to start walking and do the tour.
Yeah, so it's basically like it's created this tour for you. You can go through the stops. So basically like intro, monument to the victims of the Soviet occupation, post-war urban transformation, government house, architecture. So you can kind of like see all these stops. If you're not happy with it, you can actually customize it. So if there's a couple of points which you want to see, if you want to add like some street art or something like that, you can basically like just say, oh, add a couple of street art stops, or you can go ahead and like just start that tour.
Why don't we just get straight into it, just to keep it snappy. So here, obviously, it took a bit of time to kind of make sure the route was correct. Go and find those interesting places. As you can kind of see, all of those, you know, jumping straight into that monument is kind of shows that it's found the theme, it's picked up the theme, and here you are, you've kind of created that you're creating the intro track, and it will kind of generate as we go along.
Right.
We can either like start the tour. We've got this cool like group jam feature. So if you're with multiple devices, like in your family, you can basically like have every person listen to the tour at the same time through their own device. You can download before you go, or streaming mode. So let's just do streaming.
A city that wears its history in heavy stone and wide sweeping vistas. We are standing in the Central District, an area that was almost entirely leveled during the Second World War. Before the 1940s, this was a place of winding streets and low-slung Balkan architecture. But the conflict left it a blank canvas. When the Soviet authorities took control, they didn't just want to rebuild. They wanted to redefine the city.
The group jam, as you call it, I like that name. So is that literally it's going to play at the same time? If I share it amongst my family, then it's going to play. So it synchronizes.
Exactly. So here you can see, you can kind of share that code, copy that code.
Right.
And we basically use the host phone controls it. So we did a few tests about, you know, whether everyone can play and pause at their own pace. But what we found actually, the kind of best solution was just, in this case, Maris's phone would control it. When he presses pause, it would pause for me on my device, so that you can kind of follow along all at the same speed at the same point.
That's great. Yeah, it reminds me. I'm not sure if they still do it at Alcatraz, but the old, showing my age maybe, but the old, I think it was the cassette, and you'd have to pause it at the same time, or the CD, whatever it was, and you'd have to ask people you're with, have you listened to this bit yet? Did you hear that story yet? Because everyone's on different timings. I'm sure there's a lot of people still do that on some of these devices, right? Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, because I
Um,
mean, like one of the best parts about exploring like that is if it's an amazing story, you'll go around and like, you'll have that like, oh, cool moment. You want to share that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we talked about this before. It's getting to the point now where the technology allows us to almost have the perfect, I sort of call it the perfect experience, where I just want to walk around at my own pace and see the stuff that I want to see, and it's creating it in real time. But should we get into the commercials a bit? Because that's one of the questions with these things, right? We've had a million audio tours over the years from various companies, some larger, some smaller, and there's not an obvious path. And I think where you're going here, I don't know what happens with this space. You've got lots of audio tour companies all doing AI tours now. On the other side, you've got this company called Google who could approach this from the other side, right? So how do you see that? Where's your space in the market?
yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of interesting points here. I think the first is we actually launched this as a B2C product. So this technology, when we first launched it, or even now, it's available to be plugged into other apps because most travel apps, they're very good at transact. Think about like, for instance, an airline app or a hotel app. They're very good at the transaction piece. So you'll basically like buy your product through it. Sometimes they add a bit of post-booking utility, like for instance, download your boarding pass or scan a boarding pass for check-in. But the moment you arrive in destination, you stop using those apps. So what we basically do is we can plug this into third-party apps so that, booking.com or like British Airways can keep engaging that customer in destination. So that's point number one in terms of like how we initially thought about distribution. What we then realized is that actually, usage for this is really high. People are actually using this in destination through the apps which we deployed the first version. So to go to what you said there about the previous self-guided tours, the unit economics before about a self-guided tour was to make a good self-guided tour typically cost about £2,000 to $3,000. Now the marginal cost of creating an experience is close to zero. So you can actually customize that. If a customer wants, this makes the long tail completely accessible. So if, for instance, you want to go here and you want your own personal guided tour right here, right now in this specific format, it might cost us, £1, but will you be willing to pay £5 for it? Maybe. So this is kind of where, all of a sudden you can actually address that long tail. You can create a walking tour on the fly for anyone. You don't need to make sure that you have a couple outliers to basically justify the unit economics of the whole model. Every tour becomes basically profitable from the first play or from the first download.
Right.
And then the last question about like Google, yeah. I mean, I think in this kind of like post AI world, the only answer to that is you've got to stay on top of everyone else. So you got to basically do what ChatGPT and what Google won't right now. Right now, they don't have this technology. But the next step as well is like actually the tone of voice. The fact that when so if I end this shared walk, um, actually, um, if I end the shared walk and go back, like you can actually like create your guide, you can choose your guide, you can customize your guide. And that kind of tone of voice about like, being a little bit funny or doing something a little bit different, that's something which we can really play on, which isn't necessarily the case, like which, I don't think a Google ChatGPT will really like work on that right now. So yeah, just a couple of points there.
Yeah, that is, which is the space everyone talks about, right? I mean, if Google moves into your space, doesn't matter what you're doing, you might be in trouble. But it's working out the level of detail they'll probably never get to, and I can't see them getting to this level of detail with this tone and customization and everything else. They probably argue because the money's not there, but they need every company to be $1 billion company, right? Within every product to be $1 billion product. You guys don't. And what about your competitors? Surely I could just vibe code this in 2 hours on a Saturday morning while watching Champions League football.
Please
Couldn't
go
I?
ahead and
Yeah.
try.
I think I personally don't think you can vibe code this in 2 hours. Can you vibe code it in 2 months? Maybe it's a possibility, but I think we've been building this up for a while now, and I think the biggest benefit is that we've kind of launched a product in market. We've seen how people are actually using it from, our previous partnerships where, for example, we had a 25% uptake rate on this AI tool in destination, which is a great number. But we have all of those learnings. We understand how people are actually starting to use our technology, and so we are kind of constantly, iterating it, improving it. So, whilst you might be able to vibe code an initial version over 2 months, I think kind of maintaining that speed of execution, having the data, being able to make educated decisions on like the UI, the UX, what customers actually want. I think that's where, there is a bit of a head start from our perspective, as to, new competitors, for example.
Yeah. No, that was a good answer, to be fair. I'm kind of joking about the 2 hours, but less and less joking as every week goes on, right? And the technology catches up.
Yeah.
It's also easy to you could have gone, well, we've been building this for 2 years, therefore the next person would have to build it for 2 years. But the way you answered it was much better than that. I think these people that hold on to, well, we've been building this for 3 years and that's the head start we've got, you sort of lose credibility immediately. So your problem's going
Yeah.
to be distribution, right? And do you see it as you mentioned B2B? Is that going to be the thing, or do you think you got a B2C angle on this as well?
I think there's definitely both. I think the first thing which we proved out is just, are people using this and what's the uptake rate? I think we proved that out. Now it's just about distribution. So whether it's basically putting this technology into a third-party app, we can do that. And then I think everything which is happening around AGO right now, and even SEO, like there's so many interesting things, especially for the long tail, where, there are so many customers or travelers going to all these random destinations, speaking, lots and lots of languages, but they might not have access to walking tour products or guidance products in their own languages for where they are at that moment, at that time. And I think what this actually allows us to do is open up that whole long tail possibility on search, on keywords, on AGO, on SEO. And I think that's really where we're focusing on right now with this product.
Oh, that's an interesting angle. Yeah, we've got a Magpie customer. She does tours of Prague for Greek tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you start out thinking, surely that's not a thing, but there's enough people if you specialize enough. But you could do all those coupled things, couldn't you, from every destination? I'm sure you could spin up a few million splash pages with that and get some SEO. It's an interesting angle. It's good. And then on the B2B, I just think, I mean, you've got the big tour companies, right? The big tour groups who could probably all use this. And then I think about the more traditional, like the TUIs and the trail finders and people like that who could probably use a branded experience. And then just sell it to Booking, right? Is that the plan?
That's the trick.
Nice and easy.
If they don't
Expedia
build
seems
it.
to be Expedia's spending money these days. Maybe you can sell it to them.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, but I mean that's the beauty of it, where it's kind of like uncharted territory, that in destination piece, where a lot of travel tech focuses on the transaction piece. So how
Yeah.
can I sell that flight or that basically that bed or that seat for better, more efficiently? Our whole angle is about the content. So how can we actually engage that user or that traveler, deliver more value for them during their trip, and so that you're part of that experience, and then after that you can actually start recommending restaurants, experiences, have an upsell. So I think and that it's kind of silo agnostic. So you could be an airline, you could be an accommodation, you could be a tour operator. If it adds value to that traveler and destination, like we could technically partner with any of those.
Yeah. I like that, silo agnostic. That's a good little term there. No, absolutely, that's great. And then obviously this is what I always thought of as the connected trip. This is where I thought Expedia were going to go to with their concierge program, which we were involved with 15 years ago, but none of them got there. But I still think now they could and should, because you're touching the consumer every minute, every hour, every time they want to do the next thing, right? It's massive branding potential. Well, this is great, guys. Appreciate this quick demo. Best place to get hold of you guys. I know, Marius, you're going to be in Focusrite in a couple of weeks. Yep. And about what's the best way to get hold of you guys outside of that?
Absolutely. So probably LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, if you check out IWander, so IWander, or my email is Marius, so my first name dot Nigon, Nigond at iwonder.io. So yeah, reach out to me there.
You got a weird French accent when you say your last name.
Yeah,
What's that
because it's
all
French.
about?
And technically, you're not supposed to say the D at the end, but it always kills me because no one can understand it. So I've started saying it.
So being French, you're going to be but you're going to be big PSG supporters on Saturday. Is that where you're at?
Absolutely not. Being French in London, there's only one team that we support. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Congrats on the whatever that thing is you guys won last week, and then good luck on the next one at the weekend. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Christian.
Thanks,
All right.
Christian.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.